in the Rockies. And I often say that I'm helping to build the Army for Freedom. And that's a pretty audacious kind of statement. But here in Colorado, we've decided a different approach for approaching the issues of freedom. And so we're going to be exposing you to a little bit how we do that and who's involved. So the first question I have is, how many of you knew when you were little that you were going to be involved in public policy or care about politics? Aha, I see a few hands. I see a few hands. So you kind of know. So sometimes in life, there's those kind of people that really, know what they want to do. Well, I was kind of one of those people. And the good news is I didn't become a union organizer because I was an activist. I get to organize people. And I often tell the story of how when I was in 5th grade, my parents got called to school because my teacher said I was taking over the school. And my parents were like, she's a 5th grader, I don't think she's taking over the school. Well, the truth is, I had to organize the 5th and the 6th graders and the 4th graders all on the playground to yell, "We hate Mr. Stuckey. We hate Mr. Stuckey." And I mean, we were adamant about it, and so I got called in, and luckily I had wonderful supportive parents, and they were kind of proud of me, and so they didn't discourage me, and I didn't get in trouble. But back in that time, I had a whole bunch of people yelling, "Mr. Stuckey didn't get fired." Nothing changed. We had a bunch of angry kids on the playground, but nothing really changed. And I liken this sometimes to our conservative movement, because sometimes we yell, but we don't get anything done. So I love the phrase, you can be a yeller, you can be a teller, or you can be a seller. And so I've moved kind of my career toward the idea of selling. So for many, many years in Colorado, I was a political consultant and helped elect wonderful people, senators and congressmen and governors and great men, all wonderful people. But I didn't feel like we were really moving the needle. And so I've kind of moved more into the idea of how do we sell the propositions of freedom. And so the leadership program of the Rockies is one of the vehicles that I use to try and build that Army for freedom. All the people that you see up here on the stage are graduates of the leadership program of the Rockies. So we're going to quickly show you a video so that you know what in the heck are we talking about when we talk about this leadership program of the Rockies. And then I'm going to tell you why they're actually going to tell you some of the stories, what makes them incredible sellers versus just yellers or tellers. So if we could cue the video.
At Leadership Program of the Rockies, we think the best defense in the fight to preserve freedom is principled, equipped leaders, which begs the question, what is the Leadership Program of the Rockies? It is 9 sessions, 65 of the very best in the state, public speaking, debates, the preservation of liberty, networking, defenders of capitalism, defenders of the Constitution, dynamic, interactive. Simply put, LPR is timeless principles, leaders in action.
LPR is probably the most unique program of its kind in the entire country. I think what makes it so unique is the fact that we focus on principles, but we make it a very interactive learning experience.
If you know what your values are, if you know what your vision is, if you know how to articulate it simply and clearly, it applies to almost any civic question you're gonna have.
It's easy to scapegoat this and say the problem's in Washington, or the problem in California is the Second Amendment. No, the problem's right here in this room. The problem is in every house out there. The problem is us. We get the politicians we deserve.
I think a lot of people have been promised things that won't be delivered and can't be delivered.
Well, we have to really make a call about who we are.
But at the same time, I think that's brought people to the point where they have had to make some hard decisions and look in the mirror.
I also see another future, a future that LPR is helping facilitate.
And with that, I think there's great hope for where we're headed.
Well, the Leadership Program of the Rockies doesn't make leaders. What it does is find leaders, people who have constituencies, and seem to have some inclination towards civic leadership to begin with. If you look at the greatest reforms in education here in Colorado, Douglas County, the Board of Education that has moved school choice forward more than anywhere in the country are LPR graduates. When you look at elected officials who have made the biggest difference in preserving property rights and moving policies forward to reduce taxation, to eliminate regulation, to allow for freedom to exist, they all have one thing in connection here in Colorado, and that's the leadership program of the Rockies.
Coming into politics, 3 years ago when I got into this, if you had told me then that I would be on a radio show every week and that I would have 2 winning political campaigns under my belt, I would have told you you were crazy.
Over a 9-month period, we bring in some of the best national experts in the country. We challenge our students to really think about the fundamentals of every issue that they're learning about. We make them read. They have to debate. They have to answer questions in 30 seconds in front of Bob Schaefer with Speak Out. They've got to actually make the moral case for capitalism. They have to write an op-ed defending the Constitution. All these things come together so that they understand the part-timers' principles and they feel equipped to be a leader in action and go out and make a difference.
Well, this is why you should be a defender of capital. You actually believe in what you do. You actually believe you're a productive individual without actually making things. This is where you need to learn to defend yourself.
I went into leadership career in the Rockies, very bullheaded, with all kinds of ideas on how I was going to change the world, and I wanted to just have somebody show me at LPR, maybe, the actual ropes and the steps to take to get that done.
I postulate to you, and I want you to think about this throughout this course, that the mind is the source of wealth. It isn't the leg, it's not the hand. If there isn't a mind telling those hands what to do, we die.
The Americans offer a moral justification for their cause.
And I did 3 years of law school, and I had been practicing about 10 years at the time that I did LPR.
What the Americans were fighting for was a redress of their grievances.
And I have to say that I was completely blown away by what I learned at that class.
But we're confident we have right on our side. And we want to explain to the world why the right is on our side.
I really thought as an attorney I had a very firm grasp of our country's founding, our founding documents. And it turned out that I didn't.
Jefferson is the one who figured out how to articulate the principles of freedom in a way that not only Americans and people around the world could understand in 1776, but those Chinese students in Tiananmen Square could understand just as well 200 years later.
I think that we're defining what these principles are and what they mean and how we can apply them to public policy and to politics.
Our goal is to grow an army of soldiers and warriors who are willing to fight for freedom and liberty. It's really that simple.
This program is not a spirit of uniformity, everybody marching to the same drum beat.
You have this class of 60 people, and they've got 60 different backgrounds and 60 different viewpoints.
Look at the individuals that are involved in the program, the diversity and the uniqueness of each one of those members.
A spirit of communication and dialogue and inspection of these principles that we say we believe in.
Things happen in this too. You've got somebody who is going to run for office in a year, who goes back to his LPR classmates and...
I asked Shari, why did you pick somebody like me? She said, Brad, we need more people like you who are business oriented, who are not running for public office, but need to be part of the sphere of influence. As somebody who's been through the leadership program of the Rockies, is tested and proven and is ready to go out on the front lines and achieve victories. The leadership program of the Rockies takes a long-term view. And if you believe that there is a leader somewhere today who is going to run for office someday, or maybe manage a campaign, or lead some issue, cause around the state, the leadership program of the Rockies is the best way to invest in a way that is going to help and assist and make sure that those conservative, free market-oriented causes are going to benefit from the best leaders.
Leadership program in the Rockies has been one of the best investments that I've made in the last 10 years of my life.
LPR really helped me understand that freedom is something you work at. It's not something you can take for granted every day.
What's next? What are we going to do next? How are you going to continue this momentum, this excitement of going through the program?
I have not been involved in another organization that has more positive influence in promoting the cause of liberty than the leadership program of the Rockies.
It's the best there is.
So that gives you a little feel about what we do. It's a very interactive experience. I could have, when Bridget called me and asked me to put together a panel, I could have said, let's get all of our elected officials, because we've got some brag officials. We have a former Interior Secretary under President Bush. We have Congress people. We have federal judges. We have some counties in Colorado. Every single school board member or county commissioner is a graduate of this program. But our secret weapon is often the people behind the scenes that aren't the elected people, because what we look for is influencers. And I make a big distinction between elected. Sometimes elected people are really influencers, and sometimes they're not. And so every person on this stage, they are major influencers. They are our secret weapon. They are warriors for freedom. And so I want to introduce them to you. And what I'm going to do is go down the line and tell you about them, and they're going to fill in a bunch of the blanks. So first of all, will you guys just wave your hand when I say your name? So first of all, Laura Carno. Laura Carno is a graduate of our program in 2011. She's also a Leaders in Action Award winner. She's a Plug-in Award winner and all sorts of cool things that we give prizes for. She is the founder of I Am Created Equal, and through her political media company, she persuades Coloradans through local and statewide educational and issue campaigns. She also co-founded Coloradans for Civil Liberties, an organization helping to win back the gun rights battle in Colorado that lost in 2013. And she is the author of the book, Government Ruins Nearly Almost Everything. Nearly everything, I'm sorry, I misstated that. She's incredible. So next is Brad Beck. Brad Beck is a graduate of the class of 2009. He's also a Leaders in Action Award winner. He's a Plug-in Award winner. And Brad is the director of Yes, a national sales manager for Design Master Color Tool and an international color marketing company with a focus on aerosol sprays based in Boulder, Colorado. If you can imagine being based in Boulder. In 2015, he was awarded the prestigious Leaders in Action Award from LPR, and from his experience in LPR, he founded a group called the Liberty Toastmasters, a concept which has 4 clubs chartered in Denver, Longmont, Colorado Springs, and Grand Junction. He's a distinguished Toastmaster, a professional floral communicators international, and a lifetime member of the Optimus Club. And next, we'll go on to Prashant. Prashant Krishnan is a graduate of our LPR class of 2015. He is a doctor, and I always am challenged by saying he's one of the leading gastroenterologists, did I say it right? Where he's been awarded the top doc from Colorado Springs Style magazine for the last couple of years, 2014, 15, 16. He serves as a board member for the Castle Rock Adventist Hospital and is a founding member of the PBK4 and WIG Talkers. Prashant has published many highly acclaimed articles and continues to impact the medical field through some groundbreaking research, and happens to be the founder and lead singer of a band called Unprepped, when he has a little spare time on his hands. Then we've got Erin Kane. She is an LPR graduate of 2016. Erin is currently serving as the interim superintendent of Douglas County School District. That's the public school district. During her time as a stay-at-home mom, she helped start a public charter school, American Academy, a pre-K through 8 charter public school in Douglas County with STEM emphasis, where she now serves as executive director. As the executive director, Erin takes responsibility for business operations, financial management, academic success. She manages a $17 million budget and almost 200 employees, including principals, directors, teachers, and support staff, and has consistently achieved award-winning academic success. And we've got some fun stories to tell you about Erin. And then last but not least, we do have an elected official up here, or she was an elected official, and that's Kim Monson. She's with she graduated from the class of 2012, another Leaders in Action Award winner. She is the co-host of a hit radio show called Americhicks that airs on KDMT 1690 AM Monday through Friday. Americhicks unpacks current events and founding principles within today's context. Kim is a wife and a mother who has been a successful small business owner, a women's clothier for the past 24 years. She also served as the city councilwoman for Lone Tree District 12, where she fought for smaller government and representing the citizens. So will you help me welcome all of them with a hand? So we're going to start with Laura. And what I asked each of them to do is fill in the blanks a little bit, because their resumes don't really tell you the kind of warriors that they are in the freedom movement. So Laura.
Thank you. I'm Laura Carter. I live right here in Colorado Springs. And what you're going to hear in this panel is not just the diversity of what we're doing out there in politics and public opinion, but how we're each using our unique talents and how we're being authentically us. So LPR doesn't create a bunch of carbon copy political activists. What Shari helps to encourage through the structure of the class is, what's that thing that you do? Match it up with principles and go do that. So 8 years ago or so, I was minding my own business with a career in a corporate position with big salary and all kinds of fun things. And I literally tripped and fell into politics during a layoff. I was in the banking industry. It was 2008, during all that TARP drama, and I tripped and fell into politics. At the time, I thought it was the most horrible thing that could have happened to me, that I left this job at a big corporation. And looking back now, it was absolutely the best thing that could happen to me. So similar to Shari, I did some campaigns and did some winning campaigns, and that's a lot of fun. It loses its shine after a little while when you see that maybe not all candidates share 100% of your vision. So how do you stay principled and go out there and actually help to move public opinion? So Shari mentioned I have a political media company, I Am Created Equal. Some people say that sounds like a women's movement. Okay, that's fine if they want to think that. We know we're equal, we've moved on from that. But what that actually means is that I, the citizen, am created equal to the government official. They're not the boss of me. They don't get to tell me what to do. So in my media campaigns, I use that idea of human equality to educate voters on things that were coming up. So even though I wasn't working for or against a candidate, I was educating people. So we had a U.S. Senator here who lied to us about Obamacare. So I went out and did commercials telling him he shouldn't lie to people who were in charge. We worked on a recall in 2013 here of a state senator who did some very bad things for our gun rights. So I looked at him in the eye through my TV commercials and said, "Don't you dare tell me how to defend myself." And that is a good human equality type language. You, the government, don't get to tell me how to make these life and death decisions in my life. And I love anybody who takes those words, "don't you dare," and says to our government, "don't you dare." So I've done educational campaigns like that. Currently, Shari mentioned that I co-founded an organization called Coloradans for Civil Liberties. And this is an organization we formed to win back the gun rights that we lost in the 2013 legislative session from heck. And so what we're doing is, our tagline is restoring freedom one round at a time. So they put limitations on us. We are going in the right direction one round at a time if we have to. The project I'm working on right now with Coloradans for Civil Liberties is that today in Colorado it is legal for school staff members, so think teachers, principals, janitors, lunch lady, anybody, with the permission of their school district, it is legal for them to be an armed first responder in their school. So think about if somebody had been there to stop Sandy Hook, if somebody had been there to stop Columbine. So what we're offering through Coloradans for Civil Liberties is training for those people. So we've taken a tiny step outside of politics and saying, you folks that are volunteering to put your body between bullets and other people's children, we want to give you that life-saving training. So that's the big thing that we're working on. So you can see going from running campaigns to training teachers. You can see the kind of diversity that happens when you just follow your authentic direction and do the things that call to you. Thank you.
Bradley Beck, Boulder County, class of 2009. That's the proper way we introduce ourselves in the leadership program of Rockies, establishing your credibility. Well, you probably don't know this, but being a graduate of the leadership program of the Rockies, to me, is kind of like being a ham sandwich at a bar mitzvah. It's kind of rare, because only 65 of us get chosen to go through the program. I think the year I was accepted, they lowered the standards, because I still pinch myself to this day to try to figure out how I got in with such intelligent, cogent, brilliant people. When I started, I got in on the first class. Dr. Thomas Krieble, we saw in the video, talked about 4.5 hours about the Declaration and the Constitution. And it reminded me of that Bose commercial back probably in the early 80s where the guy sitting in a leather chair and the sound's just coming out and the hair's blowing back. I don't have the hair anymore, but I did. And I was just blown away. Well, after that first class, we have a little cocktail mixer, kind of a calm down period, because you don't want to go home to your spouse and tell her or your significant other all the great things you've learned in the class that day. So I went up to Shari and I said, Shari, I don't know if I belong here because, you know, these people are so smart and I'm just a business guy. I don't know any of this stuff. I'm a product of the LA City school system. And she said, Brad, you know you don't know. A lot of the folks here think they do. You're way ahead of the game. So that kept me engaged in the beginning. And at the end of 9 months, you're challenged with the question, what are you going to do? You've just spent 9 months learning about individual rights, the proper role of government, and how to be an active and engaged citizen. And well, according to my wife, I wasn't going to run for public office. And for those that are married, you know, if your wife says no, you say yes here, if you want to live in a peaceful household. And I said, you know, I have observed our fellow classmates during a session we call Speak Out during lunch, where you're asked a public policy question, and then you tie it to a principle, establishing your credibility, and if you can, tie it with a call to action. And I saw my fellow classmates unable, week after week or month after month, be able to do that. So I said to Shari, I think I can start a club called Toastmasters, but with a liberty theme. Take this LPR idea and blend it with the classic structure of Toastmasters with the theme of liberty. And the response was cleverly crafted because Shari's brilliant. And she said, Brad, we tried that and it didn't work. And that was the gauntlet I decided to step over. I said, well, I'm going to try it. So I asked a group of my classmates, let's try to start this Liberty Toastmaster theme. And they said yes. And in 2009, we started our first group in Aurora. We now meet at the Independence Institute twice a month. Started a second club up in Longmont, Colorado, just on the north side of Denver. We have a third club that Cassandra Sebastian started down here in Colorado Springs. We have a fourth club in Grand Junction. And now, hopefully, Tuesday, I'll start a fifth club down in Durango. And the idea is to get people comfortable in the setting of communication, of sharing their story, their ideas. And those personal ideas are what make the difference in persuading. Listening is huge. We don't do enough listening. As conservatives or free market folks, a lot of times we want to share our ideas, but we're not good at listening. So the Toastmaster program has a whole evaluation component where everything we do gets timed, everything we do gets evaluated. So it's a great opportunity to practice these skill sets in a safe environment. And then we can go out in the community, into our different clubs that we belong to or different settings, and articulate the principles from a personal experience perspective. The second thing I'm doing now, and I'm glad she's here, is working with the Krieble Foundation and the Lens of Liberty to do the citizenship program. And it's an incredible opportunity for Laura Carnell and myself. We're invited with 3 other folks to go out and talk about citizenship. There's a video out there that I encourage you to pick up. And it is an opportunity to have a discussion on what citizenship is all about. Because the citizenship that we're being told today, if they're teaching any of it, is all about volunteerism. It's not about being active and engaged citizens to do those things that are your passion. So these are 2 opportunities directly as a result of my going through the leadership program of the Rockies, working with this distinguished panel, and really networking with the best and best of Colorado. If there's a situation where you want to look and find somebody who's an expert, the LPR network, the LPR grads have been an incredible resource for me. And really, 2 words come to mind when I think of LPR. And those 2 words are life-changing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have the gift of gab like they do. Good afternoon. I'm truly honored and humbled to be here in the presence of all of you. My name is Prashant Krishnan. I'm a gastroenterologist from Colorado Springs with Peak Gastroenterology Associates. And I was asked to talk about my experiences both before and after LPR. So prior to LPR, my main focus was immediate clinical care for patients. But after LPR, my focus really started to broaden and expand. I've held several leadership positions here locally. Shari mentioned a few of them. I'm a board member at Castle Rock. I've been the GI section chair at some hospitals. I sit on the medical executive committee. I've helped innovate and design new technology, worked with some people in Israel, and it changed the face of endoscopy worldwide. And I'm also a professor at 3 different medical institutions, so I'm able to, and fortunate enough, to teach students and residents. LPR focuses on what makes our country so unique and so wonderful, and that's our founding principles of individual liberty. As a country, I think we gloss over this in our middle school and high school education. And despite the fact that these principles really do create the infrastructure necessary to ensure maximum success and efficiency, regardless of the field we choose to pursue, including science and medicine. So what makes LPR so unique and so different? LPR does not teach you how to discuss issues. LPR teaches you principles that remain constant regardless of the issue. It teaches you to think for yourself, measured against a consistent standard. When you accept and understand America's founding principles, you can tackle any issue effortlessly. So how have I used LPR's education? I interact with so many people on a daily basis, including my patients, my technicians, my nurses, other doctors, hospital administrators, etc. And when I'm scoping, because we're in a closed room, I have a captive audience. And so I use this time to pose questions, get opinions, and then discuss how these opinions were formed. And what we found is, in challenging each other, we've come to learn that a lot of people don't really know what their opinions are or why they formed them. One of the technicians that I work with, she started her first job with me 8 years ago. I had just started practicing 2 days prior, and she was about to get fired. She was only 21 years old, so I asked the practice, give me 30 days with her, and I was brand new to the practice. I said, give me 30 days with her, and I will get her up to speed. And she was really motivated to learn and absorbed everything that we discussed. She became the best employee in the entire practice. And after she became comfortable with medicine, I decided I wanted to start discussing free markets and individual liberty with her. This is a technician. She's got minimal education, but she can now convince anyone on the importance of individual liberty, especially for those most vulnerable. At the corporate level, hospital administrators make decisions which seem to have immediate benefit for the hospital, but they trample on individual freedom, eventually leading to devastating effects throughout the entire hospital. So through some discussions I've had with them, hospital administrators decided not to move forward with some of these ideas, all due to persuasion and not coercion, persuasion based on principles. And they've had really, really positive outcomes and increased involvement of medical staff and accountability from them as well. In my field in healthcare, regulation, as it is in any field, but regulation really, really curtails any free market that's left in healthcare. So in my endoscopy center, I cannot have a blind person in the room where I scope. I need them to be able to see the screen to find polyps. I need them to be able to give me equipment. And a patient who may be blind, as they come into the endoscopy center, they can't really touch that door, nor are they allowed to open that door because of HIPAA violations that could occur in case some other patient is in the room. Yet, I am required to have Braille on that door, and it makes absolutely no sense. It costs money that could have been utilized in ways that would actually improve patient care. and it penalizes our practice even if no harm ever came to anyone, if that sign is not kept up. So how are we guilty of some wrongdoing if no harm ever occurred? This is what regulation does to industries. Just earlier today, and I texted Shari this text because it really made my day. Just earlier today, I received a text from a young African-American man who used to work at one of our local hospitals. He was one of the technicians. Very rough childhood, traumatic life, and I spent some time talking to him after work most of the days that I was there. And then I had him read some books on individual liberty and capitalism. And so he read those books, and he actually came to my house because he wanted to discuss some of the concepts in the book. So we met and we discussed them. And he decided to take responsibility for his own life, left the department to get a bachelor's degree, and today, this morning, he texted me and said he got accepted to a graduate program and wanted to thank me. So my influence on him will now be magnified by his influence on others. I entered medicine to change lives and to improve them. LPR has given me the tools to teach others how to improve their own lives. This is what I want to continue to do, to bring independence back to the mind. If you cannot defend your views on principle, it is time to check your premises. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Erin Kane, and I'm currently serving as the interim superintendent for Douglas County School District, which is here in Colorado, and it is the third largest school district in Colorado, with 67,000 students, 87 schools, 8,000 employees, and $700 million annual revenue. As Shari said, I founded a charter school years ago, and before that I obtained degrees in engineering of all crazy things. I was a conservative before I attended the leadership program of the Rockies. But what leadership program of the Rockies helped me do is really understand my core principles and how to apply those principles to anything in my world, and how to help persuade other people to look at what their principles are. So, in a unique position as a conservative that is a superintendent of a pretty large school district, I can assure you, knowing other superintendents, there are no others. There are almost no others. The way that I apply my principles to my current position is looking at the importance of freedom and of individual responsibilities. As conservatives, as freedom lovers, we believe that individuals know better than the government. Even in a position where I find, I guess, that I am the government. The individuals in my situation are individual teachers and schools. And I need to apply freedom, and I do apply freedom to that situation. And I entrust teachers, and I entrust schools to do the right things. You can never gain trust if you don't actually give trust. And again, individuals, if we really believe in individuals and we really believe in freedom, then that should apply across the board. Not when we get in charge, we want to push our stuff into the system. And that has had a great impact in Douglas County. Teachers feel like they are free to be able to do what they know is right and to actually teach students. We often think of teachers and associate them with the teachers' union, but I would be very careful to separate the two. Individual teachers go into teaching because they have heart and because they love students. And it is that love that drives them to be teachers. No teacher ever woke up this morning and said, I want to do the wrong thing for students. And so making sure that we entrust those teachers to do what they do best, making sure that we give them a voice, making sure that we provide them with everything that they need and the protection that they need. Why would they want to pay for that if we're willing to give it to them for free? So the importance of persuasion with our principles is to use that persuasion instead of force, and to always lead with heart and think about people and think about what people need and what they want, rather than trying to force them to believe in your principles. It is quite remarkable the difference that it can make. As I conclude, I'll just tell a quick story. Coming into the position I'm currently in, you can imagine a charter school founder who's also a conservative, suddenly becoming a superintendent of a school district. And as I went and visited with each of the schools, because educators grow up in education, you can imagine how I was greeted. It was something along the lines of this. But I talked to those school leaders, and I explained to them, yeah, I am a conservative, but that means that I'm a freedom girl. What that means is that if you're leading a school that is providing educational excellence and where the parents feel like their kids are getting the education they always dreamed of for their kids, I'm going to leave you alone. I'm going to get out of your way. I'm going to remove every single piece of red tape that I possibly can. And even my most liberal school leaders greatly appreciate having that freedom, and they're starting to understand the value of freedom. And that's where persuasion comes in, and that's where it's come into my life. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Kim Munson, Leadership Program of the Rockies, class of 2012, best class ever. That's what I would say. It is indeed an honor to be here with you. When I think of Leadership Program of the Rockies, all I can say is fasten your seatbelts. I had heard that there was a group that had a retreat in February down at the Broadmoor every year. And I kept thinking each year, I need to learn something about that. And I was becoming more and more restless about what was going on in America. I'm a mom of 3 kids. I'd been in the investment business. I retired when my second child was born, had a small clothing business. My kids were coming home from school saying things that it just wouldn't match up with me. Now, I'm a product of public schools in western Kansas, and had the great honor of a real, I would say, classical liberal education. And I have always appreciated the American idea. And I realized that something that's unique about the American idea is that regular people can go after their hopes and dreams. My grandmother, just 2 generations